How to deal with regrets biblically. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Faith and Fortune Academy. My name is Ben, and the topic of today's video is going to be something that I've wrestled with a ton in my own walk with God, in my own life. There have been so many times where I was like, oh my gosh, like I wasted this one particular season of my life playing video games, or oh, I should have been doing this and this instead. Why did I pick this major? I should have majored in this. Or why did I go accept this job? Whatever it might be, we all deal with a level of regret. And so today I wanted to take a look and just really walk through this from a psychological standpoint and then a biblical standpoint as well, in terms of how do you deal with regrets as you're walking with God and as you're pursuing Him. So first of all, for those of you who don't know me, if you're new to the channel, my name's Ben. I'm the founder of Faith and Fortune Academy. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I currently make over six figures by the grace of God. I have a half-funded undergraduate degree and a fully funded graduate degree in engineering. I secured multiple full-time offers from many different Fortune 500 companies. And my goal with this channel is to help Christian men navigate corporate America without losing their souls. Okay, so the whole thing here is, again, you're as innocent as a dove, you're as wise as a serpent. You know how to navigate corporate and politics and things like that, but doing it in a way that preserves your integrity and allows you to have a strong faith walk with God and a strong spiritual life. That is the purpose of this channel. So let's jump into this topic today, guys. Regret. It's something that I've dealt with and I'm sure you've dealt with numerous times. So here's a big topic that I don't really see it brought up a whole lot. You can't really control yourself from ages 0 to 18. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, technically as a child you can do things, but think about it, right? Your parents, the code is genetically set for you from basically from the very beginning. Okay, and certain genes, certain things will turn on, all of that good stuff. I get it. But you can't really choose where you're born, for example. If you're born to an affluent family, right, in a really rich part of town, okay, that's great. That's fantastic. I'm not hating on rich people at all here, right? It's like, yeah, use whatever advantage you can. But you can't control if you're born in, the projects or born into a low income family somewhere else. So already off the bat, you might not necessarily have a full deck of cards. Okay. And then think about it. As you grow up, you can't really choose the friends you grow up with either. Okay, you're growing up together in the school system. You're constantly told what to do, right? If you're in many schools, many places, it's like, oh, you tried to color outside the lines. You tried this. No, failure, bad. How dare you step out of line? You fail. Here's an F. Okay, and to be perfectly honest, too, the system tends to last pretty much all the way through college. If I'm being perfectly honest, it really does not encourage. That's why you actually see a lot of C students who end up being incredibly rich because, and that's not entirely, of course there's straight A students who do become wealthy as well. I'm not saying that's, of course they do because they get, but they're playing two different games basically. It's this idea of like, yeah, it's the school system itself is telling you what to do rather than encouraging a lot of creative thinking. Okay, your parents shape your upbringing. Somebody actually brought this up to me, and it's actually, you can see on the image on the right here. It's like if you grow up in a hectic, chaotic household, that can really affect you. That can really affect you. Some people, it gets to them and they turn to alcohol and drugs and things like that. Others manage to overcome that, right, and build a fun lifestyle. When I say fun, a fun and enriching lifestyle. They go to college or they get a trade, they start a business, and they rise above, the negative upbringing that they had. But you can't control that as a kid. You literally cannot control that as a child. Okay. And someone actually brought up this analogy here, and I thought it was brilliant. It was basically the idea that the Ivy League, it's a lot like a dog show. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So a lot of times we'll see somebody who, they get 7 Ivy League acceptances, or, oh, they're such a hardworking student, right? And someone brought this to my attention. They said it's a lot like a dog show. What do you mean by that? Well, if you think about a dog show, nobody's sitting there going, wow, that dog worked really, really hard. That dog was basically bred for success. Okay. They literally might have been bred by having 2 elite dogs breed together, and now boom, it's got the perfect, everything. But also like coaches, and it's getting trained. It's literally given the blueprint, right? Of, okay, do this, and this, and then boom, right? The dog trainer is literally standing there and bringing the dog through that, repetitions, all that good stuff. A lot of times that's how it works too with, the Ivy League or with, elite sports admissions, for example. Of course, there's exceptions to this. There's always, the kid who comes from a very, poverty or low income background who manages to go to the Ivy League, right? I'm not saying that's not impossible. Or, even just average, middle income students who maybe, let's say, didn't get coaching or didn't get all this other stuff. I'm just saying this can really, really skew towards people having an advantage early on. Okay, so if you worked hard and you didn't get into an Ivy League school, or you worked hard and you didn't get XYZ, don't feel too bad about it. A lot of 0 to 18, again, is completely out of your control. Right. And you also just don't have disposable income. Your purchases have to go through your parents. Oh, we can't afford that. Sorry. It is what it is. That's fine. And again, it's not hating on parents. Of course, it's a tough economy. It's things like that. That is actually a reason why I do advocate especially in today's day and age. I'm going to buck the trend here of what a lot of Christian YouTubers will tell you. That just tell you, oh yeah, get married young, don't worry about it, trust God. It's like, yes, you should trust God, but Jesus also says to count the cost. And of course, the context of that verse is about following him, but it also goes for finances. Okay, this is why I say, like, you can still have. I do agree with what some people online say, which is waiting till your 30s or 40s if you're a man. Okay, clarify that. If you're a guy, wait till your 30s or 40s. If you're a woman, I recommend late 20s. Okay, again, build up that income first. Okay, then have kids. And again, you're not waiting too long. You're not waiting, far and beyond into your 40s and 50s. Okay, I'm saying build up a good, solid financial background so that you can give your kids, right, a solid background. I'm not even saying private tutoring or private schools or anything like that. Just basic food so that they don't have to worry about rent. And part of the biggest cause of divorce is money. So anyway, all of that to say that, right, a lot of kids will grow up in this situation and they can't really control it. So hindsight, moving on to the next topic here, guys. Hindsight is 2020. You're going to learn by doing. Okay, you are going to learn by doing. So I have this little map here on the right. It's Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Love the game, absolutely love it. But you think about it, right? When you first start out, if I'm remembering this correctly, the map is completely blurred out. You don't know where any of the shrines are. I think you just, if I'm remembering again, you come out of the cave and you're just starting completely fresh from the game. You don't know where anything is. Okay. Now imagine I take two players and I tell each of them, okay, I need you to go touch, these 5 shrines right across the map, and I give you a specific order. Let's say player 1, he stumbles around, he's moving through the map. He goes to one shrine and it's like, oh no, this is the wrong shrine. So then he keeps stumbling around, boom, finds shrine number 2, let's say. Oh, but you got to find shrine 1 first. Okay, cool. I map this, come back to this. Keeps going, boom, finds shrine 1, then circles back to find shrine 2, made a little bit of progress, and now he's just wandering around, boom, boom, boom. Let's say it takes another, in-game hours. We'll say 3 hours to find the next one, and then another 5 to find the 4th one, and then let's say the 5th one was right there. He'd stumble onto it in, another 2 hours. Okay, cool. And then now imagine person 2 is told from the beginning, hey, here's a map. I've already charted this entire map out. Go to this, then do this, then do this, then do this, and then boom, boom, boom. He clicks all 5 shrines within an hour of in-game playtime. A lot of that is literally, that's what hindsight is, guys. Okay, it's somebody either telling you the cheat codes ahead of time, saying do this, this, and this, or it's really that. I mean, that's really it. Somebody telling you how to do it ahead of time, or you gain that insight somehow. But most of the time, guys, you're going to have to learn by doing. And this might mean trying different, we'll get into it, trades, trying different things out, trying different college majors, right? And I would actually argue that that process itself is very important because it's going to transform you into the kind of person who has the character to handle a lot of the blessings that will come later, right? If you're just handed things on a silver platter, you don't develop or gain the skills, right, that you need, or the mindset or the patience to really handle a blessing or something like that, right? So again, I want you to think of hindsight. It's a lot like a video game maze. You're going to uncover parts of the map. It's just a part of life. It's how it goes. So again, guys, if you're interested in the topics I'm talking about here today, Faith and Fortune Academy, it's a program I made to help Christian men successfully navigate corporate America without losing their souls. I mentioned Matthew 10:16 again, right? Innocent as a dove, wise as a serpent. I wanted to balance, hey, here are techniques that are practical and going to actually help you, but here's also how to do it in a way that's ethical, okay? So it's over 11 years of experience condensed down. And one of the big things I mentioned is how to use your 20s productively within corporate America. So if that's something that's interesting to you guys, click that link down below. Now let's continue. So your 20s are mainly for figuring things out, okay? Trades, college, jobs, there's a lot of different paths here. Military, I didn't mention that here, but you can also do the military. There's a lot of different things you have as a man in your 20s. This is the decade for you to figure out, okay, what does God put you on this earth to do? Now, some guys are going to figure this out early. They might get a desire for medicine at the age of 10, and then they get into med school, and then, everything's perfect, and now they've graduated, they're in residency by 26. Okay, great, fantastic. For a lot of other guys, though, God's not necessarily going to reveal what your particular path is. It's going to take you going around and trying different things, stumbling, falling, getting back up, right, before you might figure out what it is. Might not be to your late, really, I'd say 28, 29 is probably the earliest for many guys before you're like fully established. Like, okay, I'm not talking about like you have 100K in the bank or anything like that. I'm just talking like, okay, you have an idea of what you like and what you don't like, okay? So 20s, really, guys, try different locations if you can, leave your hometown, right? Go try a different city, at least intern in a different city or try a new job. Do something just so you don't have that what if or that regret later on, right? And I've seen so many guys in their 20s. There's a very common theme, actually, where a lot of guys I'll see will hit setbacks or a major debt, or they'll face a layoff in their late 20s, right? So it'll kind of be like, okay, you're kind of in the ground, you're, eating dirt, all that good stuff. Then you kind of slowly start to figure it out, in your early 20s, things like that. And then boom, major life event happens, and then boom, you're back to square one. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Actually happened to Alex Hormozi, right? I think his business partner cheated him out of 100K in a bank account, 45K, some crazy number like that. And so he was back to square one. Okay. But the good news is that, look, every skill that you build in your teens and 20s, that you keep with yourself. That is recession proof, right? Like in engineering school, I learned a lot of resilience and a lot of how to not give up, basically. And I kept those skills with me for the rest of my life, so that when I did, experience hardships and things like that, I was able to push through those things. Okay. So a big thing I recommend, guys, the big three, or I guess it's like two: minimize junk food and minimize your social media and internet consumption. So of course, the internet, social media is fine, especially if you're using those for business. Okay. But please do not spend excess amount of time on these things. Okay. A really cool channel I like is Healthy Gamer GG, Dr. K. And he made some really great videos on stuff like, how social media wires your brain and messes with your dopamine circuits. And taking time away from technology and fasting from tech is huge. Because you think about it, in Bible times, in 100 years ago, even like 20, 30 years ago, people were not this obsessed over technology, okay? And they were not so caught up in their own little world. They were out in the world, they were doing things like that. So yeah, if you can minimize that consumption, I definitely recommend that. And then same with junk food. Like I'll be honest, as I've gotten older, I've eaten more towards how I feel versus, oh, does this taste good, right? And when I say how I feel, I mean how my body feels after I eat it, right? So that's why I'll go for, a lean chicken breast or a steak, or, some good clean vegetables and some rice, versus, oh, I just want to eat this Doritos Locos taco. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mind, but that's the thing. Again, junk food's going to slow you down. It's going to hurt your goals. Definitely try and eat clean wherever you can. And that's another thing too. I didn't mention it here, but if you're in your 20s, guys, this is the time to bulk and put on a lot of muscle mass. Okay. This is like prime time. You have so much energy, so much free time, and the muscle you build here, you typically keep for life. It's very easy to maintain. As long as you eat protein, you do stuff like that. And even if you lose the muscle later, you can get it back really quickly. But this decade, you can build a ton of that muscle, get it back later with muscle memory. And it's just going to help you age very, very gracefully. Okay. I have so many of my friends who are in their 40s that look like they're in their early 30s. So it's a cheat code. Definitely recommend minimizing your junk food and working out a lot. So here comes the crux of the video. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Okay, Galatians 6, verses 7 through 8 says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever one sows, that he also will reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption, but the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life." So again, the context of this verse, guys, is it's giving an analogy here of farming, right? Of planting seeds, and then you get whatever kind of seed you plant. So if you decide to live a lifestyle of degeneracy, okay, of casual sex and hookups, or you're sitting there and you're going, okay, cool, I'm just gonna do a bunch of drugs and watch a lot of inappropriate websites, and I'm not going to socialize. I'm going to stay inside my house all day. I'm not going to study. I'm going to play video games all day, and I'm going to eat junk food. It's like, okay, well, then you're going to reap from that. You're going to reap fleshly decisions, okay? And in this case, like that, a lot of those things are very sinful, right? And you're going to reap corruption, basically, and your external appearance is going to represent that, okay? But when you sow to the Spirit, when you're focused on God, when you're focused on purpose, when you're focused on good, healthy habits like taking care of your body, that will do the opposite effect. You'll start to look better, feel better, and your mind will be a lot clearer. It's awesome. Okay, so a big thing I recommend to guys is to use your money productively this season on education that'll help you change and improve your life. Okay, and when I say education, what do I mean by that? I mean like books, right? Or on videos or courses or things like that that are going to help you. Now, of course, I'm not saying if you only have $1,000 in your bank to go spend that $1,000 on a mastermind course. Of course, be responsible. Be responsible with your money, and only put it on products that you think are genuinely going to be useful or helpful and aren't going to destroy the bank for you. Okay. And understand something, guys, here. God is not going to do your part for you. This is a huge insight I got. I might honestly make a full video on this, but yeah. And what do I mean by that? It just means like, listen, God can open the door. It's up to you to walk through it. Okay. So God's not going to ask that girl out for you. He's not going to fill out that job application for you. It is still your responsibility to take the action steps and to trust God in faith to know that, hey, it's going to work out. You wouldn't sit there in your table saying, I'm trusting God to deliver food to my table. You would get off your butt. You would trust that God is going to provide in terms of he's going to give you an opportunity to go out there and get that food for yourself. Okay. But that's what it means to really trust God in his part for you. And his role in the mission that he has for you. He invites us to do things alongside him, to partner with him. Okay. So basically, don't waste energy complaining, guys, and feeling sorry for yourself. Go take action. Go plant seeds, right? At the end of the day, a lot of lack of results is because you aren't planting seeds or you're planting the wrong types of seeds. Okay. And in that case, in the second case, the key to fix that is to get a coach, get an older mentor, seek God on this, first of all, ask him for wisdom because he gives wisdom freely, but also seek older mentors and say, hey, here's what I've tried so far. Where am I going wrong with this? And then they can point you in the right direction, and again, whenever you're trying to do that, ask, do they have the life that you want? And then that's when you can go from there. And I want to leave you guys with some encouragement here. A lot can change in a short amount of time, guys. So I think this graph on the right here, it's from James Clear. Louis says it right there. But it's Atomic Habits, Compound Effect. Guys, a lot can change in a short amount of time. So here's some biblical proof of that. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army, which I sent among you. And the whole idea of this verse is, guys, even when Israel's own sin brought devastation on themselves, God in his mercy was like, hey, I can still restore you. I can make it like those years of and opportunities and loss. It's a waste, that's science, and the world says, oh, it's impossible. We can't go back to normal. God can restore it like nothing ever happened, right? I mean, that literally happened to Joel, right? Joel spent a huge chunk of his time there that we see in absolute poverty. He has literally everything taken from him. And then God gives him double what he has after his period of testing. Okay, and now he's more refined. Now he appreciates it more, I'm sure. And now his love and relationship with God is even stronger. And basically, if you think about it too, Job experienced rock bottom. Like nothing after that is going to phase him nearly as much. He literally experienced rock bottom and then climbed his way back up. That's actually, in many cases, why rock bottom is such a blessing for many men. It sucks to go through it, but then on the other end, you're like, wow, God really brought me through that. And so case in point with me, guys, I made more progress from 23 to 28 years old than I did my first 23 years old life, right? And it's because a lot of, I went through it, in college, I switched my major a ton. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I bombed some classes, right? I got rejected a ton. It was like, man, this, it hurts, but it's a compounding effect and you take those skills with you. So, I gained more money, more muscle, more confidence, and more progress in those 5 years. And I'm still growing from there. I'm still trusting God. I'm still seeking him, right? Than I did my first 23 years of my life. And so there's a really great line in The Chosen, which is an awesome show. I'm going to make more videos on this, on The Chosen pretty soon here. But there's a great line from the Apostle Philip, who basically says, time doesn't get lost, it just gets rearranged. Okay. And I think that's a really great quote, especially in the life of a believer, and actually perfectly segues into the next slide here. Ultimately, guys, God is going to do things for your good and his glory. Okay, and this is not some prosperity gospel. This is biblical truth. Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. Now, I will say there is a prerequisite, is that you belong to God through his son, Jesus Christ, and you put your faith in him for your salvation. Okay, so this does not apply to you if you aren't a Christian, if you haven't put your faith in Jesus. But if you have, right, if you've said, okay, God, I can't save myself, I can't achieve salvation on my own merit, on my own strength, I'm trusting in Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God, who is fully God, who lived the perfect life on this earth, who died on a cross and rose again, okay? Live the perfect life. If you put your faith in Jesus, you get his perfect account accredited to you, okay? And now you get to go to heaven. Your sins are washed, you're forgiven, you're saved from hell, you're going to heaven, okay? Again, guys, I'm not going to shy away from preaching the gospel on this channel. So that is something I'm going to say here, is that this promise only applies if you're in Christ. But here's the good news. When you are in Christ, God uses everything to grow you, right? And to ultimately give you the ultimate good. So you might have gone through a struggle, through a setback, a relationship, got broken up, a friend betrayed you, right? Stole your money or something, some crazy stuff like that. God sees that. And people wonder, okay, well, if God's good, why is there evil in the world? Because God allows, one, free will, okay? People are allowed to do what they want to do. And some people are going to use that agency for evil to hurt other people, okay? But here's the good news. God is sovereign over that, and he will work it for the believer's good, okay? And it'll be hard sometimes. Sometimes you will go through trials that can seem very overwhelming, right? But the whole point and the whole purpose of that is to trust God and to become stronger through that process. He will help you. And I get it, guys. There are some really tough situations. I'm not going to blanket just say, oh, just trust God and have faith. Of course, it's going to be hard, right? And there's a time, of course, like Job's friends, to just sit in silence and to walk with someone else in their pain and their trouble. But at the end of the day, guys, yeah, this life is not going to be easy. We're going to go through trials and difficulties because we live in a sinful, broken, fallen world. And until Christ comes back, that's not going to change. So, we trust that God is our Father. He's going to give us what we need and walk with him daily as we walk forward. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Again, final pitch, Faith and Fortune Academy. It's a program I made to help Christian men successfully navigate corporate America. That link's in the description below. Hope you got a lot of value out of this video. And yeah, if you're interested, you can go ahead and click that link below. But if not, you feel free to keep watching these videos. I make these really to help, again, men navigate corporate America, just as some of the advice I like to give back to all the mentors that built into me over my life. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.